Today you're going to take a look at the Maxxair MaxxFan Deluxe series of roof vents. And those are going to have 12-volt fans, and they're going to be available in smoke and white. If you've ever been on an RV trip before, whether it be a short one or a cross-country trip, you realize very quickly how stuffy you can get inside. Because let's face it, we're basically driving around on an extremely comfortable box on wheels that doesn't have a whole lot of good circulation. But that's where our MaxxFan is going to come into play. It's going to allow the circulation to be a lot more and allow us to enjoy our trip that much more. It's going to have an adjustable speed fan to get the air moving, as well as a vent with a built-in rain cover. So here you can see the rain cover that's going to protect our RV on the inside, and this covering is a lot more resilient than the old style ones that a tree branch or anything would fall on it, possibly crack it, and then fill up with water. This is going to withstand a lot more than those old styles, and it is all completely built in, so we're not going to have an extra cover on top of our vent. I know a lot of you are probably wondering, how high is this going to stick off my RV? Well, at the highest setting with it fully open, it's going to be just over 9 inches. With our vent closed at the highest point, it's just going to be just over 5 inches. And that's going to be a big upgrade over the old style covers that are going to be a static height and they're not going to move. Even with ours fully open, it's going to be at the same height, if not a little bit lower, than the air conditioning unit in front of it. Now our MaxxFan Deluxe is going to come in 3 different configurations, and they're all going to come in either this dark tinting or a white. Now we can move inside and take a closer look at some of the differences. Here we're going to have our baseline model. It is going to be an exhaust only fan. It's not going to pull air from the outside, but that's going to be perfect for situations in rooms like we have here in our bathroom to get that hot, steamy, humid air out of there whenever we're taking a shower. Since this is the baseline model, let's go over the features that all of them are going to have. It's going to feature a manual knob. If we pull, it'll unlock it, and we'll be able to rotate the knob counterclockwise to open the vent. And then we can push on it to lock it. And then we just turn the knob clockwise to close the vent. All of our fans are going to have the ability to adjust the speed. Now this one in particular is going to have 4 settings. As you can see, even with the fan on high, it's still relatively quiet compared to a lot of the other fans on the market. If we move up to our mid-range and high-end models, it's going to have all the same features that our baseline model has, with the added bonus that not only is it going to be an exhaust fan, but it's also going to allow us to pull fresh air in. So if it's a nice cool night outside and the inside of our RV is getting a little stuffy, we'll be able to pull that nice fresh air in and cool us down. It's also going to have a little bit more adjustability to be able to fine-tune that comfort setting. We're going to have a total of 10 settings opposed to the 4. Both of them are going to have an automatic mode. It's going to have a built-in thermostat, which is going to work just like the one in your house. It's going to turn the fan on when it gets too warm and turn it off whenever we reach the temperature that we have it set to. If you've gotten the temperature in your RV comfortable, but it still just feels a little stuffy, you need a little bit more air movement, we can leave our vent closed and turn our fan on, which will act like a ceiling fan, circulating that air in here, making it a little bit more comfortable. The top of the line model, of course, is going to be the nicest. And one of the best things is we're not going to have to get up and stretch to make all of our settings and operate our fan. It's going to have a remote where we won't even have to leave our seat. Now the remote's going to have a nice, easy to read display, and we'll be able to operate everything from here. And with the button at the bottom, we'll be able to open and close our vent without ever having to leave our seat. Our remote is going to be a lot more convenient to use, not only because we don't have to get up, but because of the dedicated buttons, and the readout on the display is going to take out a lot of the guesswork setting our fan. It's going to come with a cradle that's going to keep our remote safe and secure while we're driving, but also within arm's reach. Now, one thing I do want to mention about the remote, it is only going to work within about 5 feet of your fan. Now that may seem like it's not a whole lot of space, but it's kind of a nice feature because you have more than one. It's going to make controlling each one a little bit easier rather than getting cross signals, and you don't have to worry about your neighbor trying to turn your fan on and off. So now that we've seen how nice our fans are and how they work, let's go over some of those boring numbers so we can make sure this is going to be right for you. Now all these specs are going to be true for all three models of our fans. It's going to have a 12-inch diameter fan, and they're all rated at 900 CFM, which is going to be the amount of air that it can move at its max speed. They're going to have a 5 amp draw, so when you're wiring it up, you just want to make sure that that circuit can handle that. And you're going to need a 14-inch square hole in the roof, which is pretty common for most vents in RVs. One more question you may have about the MaxxFan Deluxe is how do you get it installed? Well, it's a pretty straightforward process. Let's go ahead and show you how to do that. Typically, you're going to be using your Maxxair Maxxfan vent to replace an existing vent. So we're going to start out on the inside and be removing the trim or the garnish that's inside the roof. Now, we're going to go ahead and hold on to it once we have it down, because we may be able to reuse it. If yours is damaged or cracked, we do have some available on our website. Just take a Phillips head screwdriver and pull out the 4 screws holding it in place. You simply just slide it down and set it aside for now. We're on the top of our RV getting ready to remove the vent, and we got all of our supplies that we're going to need up here. You are going to need a caulk gun with some quality sealant in it, as well as a putty knife, a pair of wire crimpers and strippers, as well as some kind of screwdriver or a drill to remove the fasteners. So you're going to want to start, if you have a vent cover, you're going to want to open it up so that we can expose all the sealant that's holding our current one in. And that's where our putty knife is going to come in, and we're going to scrape all of the sealant off and make a nice clean area. It may take a little bit of patience and time. We're just going to go working our way around the edge and scraping up all the sealant so we can pull it out. So to make it a little bit easier on ourselves, rather than trying to peel all the silicone away while our vent is still in, we're going to take away the part that's on the fasteners so we can get to all the fasteners holding it in place, and then we can try to pry it up and then remove the rest of the excess sealant. Just want to make sure you pull all the fasteners out before you try pulling up on the vent, because you don't want to damage the roof. So you're just going to work your putty knife underneath the edge of it and start lifting up, and it should set itself free and we'll be able to pull it out. Now keep in mind there are going to be some wires attached to it, so you don't want to pull too far and pull too hard. But for now, we have the power off in our motorhome, so we're just going to cut our power and ground wire off of our existing vent. Now with the vent removed, you're going to want to make sure you clean all the excess sealant off so it's nice and smooth all the way around the opening. With the hole prepped in our roof, I'm going to take my sealant and my caulk gun. I'm just going to run a bead going all the way across the ring that we're going to install in our roof. Just want to make sure you get a nice bead on there, you get enough material that it's going to seal it, but you don't need so much that it's going to be oozing out the side like crazy amounts. You just want to get a good seal on it. So the base ring that we're going to be installing in the roof that we put our silicone on, you're going to want to make sure that that black rubber seal is facing up, and we're going to have 4 metal tabs, 2 on each side. You want to make sure that those metal tabs are going to the left and right of your RV and not facing front to back. So that's the only stipulation when we put our ring in place. So we're just going to loosely put it in place and try to line up as close as we can to our old vent. And just press it in place to get it seated. All along the edge of this base piece here, we're going to have several holes that are going to be our mounting holes. So we can take the 16 Phillips head screws and we're going to secure them in each one of those holes. Just want to grab a drill or some kind of driver to get them in place. And you're going to want to make sure you use all the screws to secure them down. Now I do want to mention that these screws are stainless steel, so if you're using a magnetic bit driver, it's not going to hold them, so be careful since we are on top of the RV. You don't want to drop them and have to find them down at the bottom. So with our ring secure, I'm going to come back with a little more sealant and I'm going to go over each one of the screws and as well going towards the edge to make sure it has a nice watertight seal. Then I'm just going to come back with a putty knife, kind of smooth it out and move the excess around where I need to. So we can start focusing on the two wires that are coming from our RV. Now we're going to have a yellow wire on our application, that's going to be our power, and our white wire is going to be our ground. So we're going to strip back just a little bit from each wire until we have two exposed ends. In our kit they're going to provide us with two spade terminals, a female and a male, two of each. So to make things easier on ourselves, we're going to grab the female spade and put one of the female spades on each one of our wires. So we can just slip it over the end, grab our wire crimpers, and crimp it in place. And we'll do the same thing for our power wire. Now coming off of our vent fan, we're going to have two wires, a black one and a white one. And the black wire is labeled with a tag letting us know that it is the positive side of the fan. So we're going to take the male end of our spade connectors and we're going to crimp it on each one of our wires. Now the wires coming off the fan are relatively long, but we're going to leave them that way. That way we have a lot of room to maneuver the fan in and connect everything, so we're not trying to work right underneath it when we're putting it in. So we're going to hook our black wire up to our positive wire coming off our RV. Just make sure the spades line up and push it together. We can take our white wire and hook it up to the ground wire coming off our RV. Now on the bottom of our fan, we're going to have a knob that's going to let us manually open and close it. To get everything in place, it is going to make it a whole lot easier if we open it up all the way. So we can go ahead and come to the knob and it's going to let us know which way to turn it. So we're going to open it up, which is going to give us a little bit more room. And we're going to turn that knob until it stops and it's not opening anymore. Now we can loosely just drop the wires down below. And we're going to pick up our fan and we can gently place it inside the panel we put in. Now you'll notice that there's a little tab with some holes on each side. You want those to roughly line up with those silver tabs because that's where we're going to be mounting them. Now the silver tabs moved. Just may need to give it a little bit of a wiggle and it'll drop right in. To secure our fan to that flange that we mounted to the roof, we're going to be taking two shorter screws and we're going to be going through the plastic ring right here that's going to go into the metal section of that tab. Now you may need to push down because there is a rubber gasket in there, which may make it a little difficult to line it up. We just kind of push down on the fan. We can get our screw started. We can take a screwdriver or a drill and very carefully get the screw in place. And we'll repeat that for the other three remaining holes. We're going to have two on each side. So that'll finish up the top side and secure our fan to our roof. We can go to remove the plastic cover. And we can move back inside. So underneath where our fan is mounted, we're just going to take our wires and if you can, you're just going to push them back into the ceiling. But if they stop and you don't have a whole lot of room, what you can do is you can kind of just bundle them up and we're going to tuck them between the insulation and the edge of our vent here, just so they're out of the way. It's not going to interfere with anything, and it's not going to get in the way or get caught on anything either. You just want to make sure that you are getting it between the fan, and you don't want to get it stuck in the fan area. Now our new fan is going to come with a new garnish, but as you can see it is quite a bit larger than the one we took out. So the way we're going to measure and figure out how we need to cut this to make it fit is if we come up to the ceiling and we go inside the hole where our fan is, we're going to measure from the very top of the roof to the very bottom of where the garnish would be on the ceiling. Now you're going to need to add about a ½ an inch to that measurement, and then you come back to your garnish and measure up, and you would trim the excess off. But since we had our existing garnish from our old unit and it's still in good shape, we're just going to go ahead and make sure that it will work. And as you can see, it will tuck up nicely. We're just going to have to move the wires a little bit so we don't see them. So then we're going to take the included screws. Now these are going to be flathead screws. They're going to be white on the bottom. And we'll go around the 4 corners and put them in place to secure the garnish. If possible, you may want to get started by hand to help hold it in place. And then we can secure one at a time the rest of the way. With everything installed, now would be a good time to go ahead and clean up all the excess material that may have fell through when we were cleaning off that sealant, as well as all the other tools and other equipment that's on top of the roof of our RV. When we're done, we'll be able to turn our fan on and enjoy the fresh air. And that'll finish up your look at the Maxxair MaxxFan Deluxe roof vent with 12-volt fan. Thanks for watching. Click the link in our description below to shop, learn more, or visit us at etrailer.com and leave us a comment if you have any questions.